Endgame. Well, clearly things look a little different in a post-Infinity War Marvel Cinematic Universe. Post-snap, there's a few empty seats. So why don't, I'd like to welcome back the people that you see here on stage. Danai, Guirra, Anthony Russo, Joe Russo, Scarlet Johansson, Kevin Feige, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Don Cheadle, and Mark Ruffalo. Let's hear it for them. Here they are, and you got Mark and Don. You feel so far away in the back row. Why don't you help fill in some of the seats up front? Come on, come on.
I can't hear you. What?
Come on, move up front and help fill in.
Phoenix, I have a little nosebleed.
Yeah. And we are fortunate enough to have a few of the other people that survived the snap joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome birthday boy Paul Rudd, Karen Gillan, Brie Larson, Chris Evans, and Jeremy Renner. What a handsome group. Beautiful, lovely set of thespians and behind the camera talent. Let's start with where it all started, Mr. Robert Downey Jr. I have a question here on the card. When you first suited up as Iron Man, could you envision Tony Stark's arc and where you wanted to see the character go? And how did you approach building such a memorable character?
Wow. Did y'all bring a bag lunch? Hi, John.
Hi, Robert.
I've been thinking about this recently. There's always two tracks, at least in my mind. One is the sky is falling, and the other is the sky's the limit. And as we had those many discussions in the high desert and shooting the film, I'm reminded now that I was talking a lot of smack, saying, "Wait till you see where this goes." But in the moment, I was just hoping day to day we were making good scenes and getting good stuff in the can, and you know, usual gobbledygook. I just wanted to not drop the ball.
And would you like the fans to call this film Avengers Endgame? Would you prefer them call it Infinity War 2, Avengers 4, or perhaps Iron Man 22? Is that... well,
there's time for that yet.
Was it a surprise early on that Iron Man amassed an army of devoted fans? And what do those fans mean to you today, Robert?
Again, I've been just feeling like I'm kind of an oddball Manny, who I've been offered the opportunity to usher in this larger, as you were saying, family and stuff, and I look around and we are close and growing closer by the moment. So it's just great to, hi Brie.
Hi.
God bless you. What a fun springtime you're having. It's just nice. To me, it's just the coolest relay race in the history of entertainment, for my money. So.
And a relay race is a good way to put it, because it has been a collection not just of different actors portraying superheroes, but also filmmakers carrying the torch from one film to the other, and all of it under the guidance of Mr. Kevin Feige sitting next to you. Now, 11 years ago, yeah, let's hear for Kevin.
Feel free to stand or bow.
11 years ago, you could not have predicted the 22 films you've produced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be so wildly successful and popular. When did you actually begin to realize that you had something big on your hands?
Well, big is relative, but it was, you know, we hired a great director to do the first film in the MCU. And then we hired a great actor. And we had fun making that first movie, as you all recall, and it was sort of the success of it. The bar for success was pretty low. It felt high at the time, but it was not that high. It was comparative to other Marvel films that had been out in that general area, which is what we wanted to compete with. But as we were making the movie, and as we were looking at dailies, and as we were looking at effects tests coming in, we realized that this was really going to be special, and even perhaps more special than we thought. And then that opening weekend, and the response to the trailer, frankly, with you coming out at Hall H at Comic-Con for the first time, showing that trailer, there started to be a much bigger sort of wind behind our back, combined with Mr. Sam Jackson's cameo that we secretly did on that Saturday at Playa, and then leaked the next day. And the response to that, and that people picked up that meant this interconnected universe. which everybody knew from the books, but had never been done in the movies.
Right, and what makes Avengers Endgame so special that it's the most highly anticipated superhero film ever? It says it here, I didn't.
Not a question?
Yes, what makes it so special? What makes this movie in particular?
Well, what's special is all the actors on this stage, all the actors who are not on this stage. And as you said earlier, the family that has come together this decade plus. And the fact that Robert said it so well in the trailer, part of the journey is the end. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we all started talking about doing something at every turn, including the first Iron Man film. We talked about, how can we do something that's never been done before? What if a superhero outs his identity at the very last shot of the movie? Well, you can't do that. No one does that. You can't do that. What would we do next time? I don't know. Let's do it. 4 or 5 years ago, we talked about what haven't we seen in films based on comic characters we haven't seen an ending, a definitive conclusion to an overall saga. So that is why it's called Endgame and why I think it's very, very, very special.
Anthony Russo. And by the way, both of you Russo brothers, thank you as somebody who's been involved in this journey for looking after it and allowing it to grow and finding greater potential and building it into what it is today. I know as filmmakers, we're sort of a subset of the community, along with Joss and everybody else who's been involved. Everybody else has been involved. But it's really been a collective where everybody's been asking, collaborating, and we all feel that this is a bit of a relay race where we looked after it, and to have both of you stick the landing like this and bring this whole saga to the conclusion, all of us feel really, really grateful that you created, you reinforced this and turning it into something that's really a phenomenon. And Anthony specifically, how does the surprise ending of Avengers Infinity War affect the tone of Endgame in the aftermath of Thanos' destruction?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that, John. And secondly, Joe and I, we speak constantly about the debt we owe to you for starting this whole thing. And we both remember that moment that we sat in the theater and watched that first Iron Man for the first time. And I remember that feeling of like, I wish we were part of this, and we had no idea that years later we actually would be. So, I mean, that was an epic moment in a movie theater, so thank you for that. So the ending of Infinity War is, look, Joe and I have mentioned this before, like one of our favorite storytelling adages is write yourself into a corner. And what we take that to mean is like put yourself in a place on a narrative level where you have no idea how you could possibly move forward from here. And that's a great place. That's a very exciting place to be. And it forces you to come up with some really creative ways forward. And we've tried to do that with the endings of every single Marvel movie we've done, and perhaps never more so, of course, than Infinity War. We are very committed to the ending of that movie. We think that stories lose their meaning and relevancy and resonance unless there are real stakes. And for us, moving into this new movie, into Endgame, the story is very much about how do these characters, how do these heroes deal with loss, resounding loss, true loss, devastating loss. That's what they've experienced in Infinity War, and that was a unique experience for all of them. And how does a person move forward from that moment? How does a hero move forward from that moment? And the way our road into this story is how is everybody on an individual level dealing with that experience, and then how do they collectively deal with it?
And Joe, what do you want audiences to experience when they watch Avengers Endgame?
I'm sorry, John, we can't talk about that. Look, this is, I think, a really unique experiment in movies, this grand mosaic. It's, I don't know, depending on how you count it up, 11 franchises that have been interwoven into one big narrative. And I think, a lot of people have invested a lot of heart and soul into the characters. And, when we take these movies around the world, it's really, it's heartwarming to see people come up to you and say, hey, I started watching this with my classmates when I was 10 years old. Now we're all 21 and we're all going to go see this together. Or my parents have taken me to every movie, or my grandfather's taken me to every film. And it's a real sense of community and sharing in these stories and believing in them. And And I think, you know, with Endgame, we get the opportunity to think to you know, finish off one of the grandest experiments in movie history, and bring it to, as Kevin said, an epic conclusion. So what we're hoping for is that people feel satisfied with the conclusion.
Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye is back. How do you feel to rejoin the Avengers and take up your bow again?
You may need a rusting that does the thing. Yeah.
I need this? Yeah, I feel good. I feel rested.
Was it nice to jump back in the mix again?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Stretched out, had some coffee, ready to rock.
All right, sounds good. Good to have you back. Danai Guirra, Black Panther introduced your character Okoye to the world. Now she is fighting besides the Avengers. What makes her such a respected and well-liked character? And also congratulations and thank you for the breath of energy that Black Panther brought to the Marvel Universe. I think it was something that was truly significant and helped keep the franchise feeling fresh and new, and it was a wonderful film.
Thank you. Listen, it was an amazing honor and joy to be a part of it. And, you know, once again, it was, you know, the beauty of being here today is being amongst this amazing franchise that's done all this work over this course of time is, you know, we got to be embraced in this universe and be a part of it. So that was such an amazing part of it. What I can say about Okoye, because I can't speak to, oh, you like her because that sounds a little like, well, I'm like, no. What I can say is what I love about her is that she's very unapologetic, and she's a traditionalist in the sense that she believes in the sovereignty of her nation. And I guess that really resonated with me because I was born on the continent. I was born here, but I was raised on the continent, and so seeing a country like Wakanda, which has had no history of colonization and became so powerful, and that she is like the guardian of that nation in a sense, was something that really resonated with me. And I really got to work, you know, collaboratively in a gorgeous way with the awesome Mr. Ryan Coogler, who really allowed me to imbue her with the idea that she, you know, she has a good time. She doesn't have rage issues. She doesn't have that going on. She loves her life. She loves her country. She loves her people, and she'll do whatever it takes to take care of what must be done. And at the same time, there's a fierceness that I think she has, that also she kind of unapologetically also embraces her femininity. So it's been really fun to get to you know, see her in all these different ways, because when I was talking about this yesterday with Scarlet, the first day of Infinity War, when they all came to Wakanda and we were coming onto their set, you know, and we opened that tent door, that tent whatever flap, and they're inside and they're like, all the Avengers sitting there, like, oh, hi, you know. That's the minute you realize you're a part of a universe, which was pretty darn awesome.
Chris Hemsworth, what has made Thor such an entertaining and beloved character through his own franchise and in the Avengers as well? And what do you like? And what do you like best about playing him?
Why are you so great? Just tell us now.
Mr. Evans, why don't you answer this for me?
Has it?
Has he done it?
Okay, no.
Out of all the Chris's, no?
I'm curious.
Well, I mean, just to echo something you were saying before, Anthony, about the first time that the Marvel Universe came into my universe back in Australia. I was sitting there and, I don't know, I would have been just straight out of high school and watching Iron Man 1 and thinking the same things, thinking, oh my God, imagine, I wish I could be a part of that world. And then a few years on, getting cast in it as Thor and having the opportunity to embark on this thing. And at the time I thought, was this film even going to make it past DVD or even, you know, make to the cinemas, or was I going to be recast, or all those sort of questions. And look, I think the answer to the question, what made it so special for me was just the different people I was able to work with. You know, from Kenneth Branagh to that first film, was really, I sort of was completely in his hands and was basically willing to do whatever it takes and wherever he needed me to go for the character. And then through the films with each director and each different cast member, I'd learned something different from. And by the time about Ragnarok I felt like it finally enough sort of confidence to go, okay, well, what is it that I could possibly bring to this? and then had this great collaboration with Taika, and really decided to do something different and see how we could make it unexpected and unique. And then I remember calling Joe and Anthony and saying, look, I've got this new version of Thor that we've just shot, and I want to continue that version. I don't want to do the old version. And he said, well, we've got an even newer version for you. And it was, you know, and then as was this film here, and it's just about the people that's made it so special and I think unique each time with any of our characters is everybody you get to interact with, and the fact that we're all willing to you know, be open to what new possibilities lie ahead of these franchises and these characters, and it's been a pretty remarkable journey.
Chris Evans. Captain America is a classic hero with an unshakable moral code, and you have perfected your portrayal of him, plus shown us even more of what makes him tick. What has it meant to you to play him, and what do you like best about Captain America in this film?
In this film or in general? You know,
on the card, it's this film.
Okay.
So please stick to the. Please stick to the.
I can't talk about that. Well, I guess I can give broad strokes. I think just the completion of the arc. I mean, that's safe to say, right? That this movie does kind of provide kind of an ending to a lot of the.
Judges?
No,
I'm sorry, we can't accept that answer.
There is a you know, a 22 film tapestry. I'm gonna go. There's, you know, he's been through so much, and specifically with.
Let's just talk about Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, really. As we should. Yeah, I don't know. There's been so many wonderful elements of working on this movie, and I'll echo what Chris said. Just truly, not to, it could seem like a safe answer or something, but really, honestly, the friendships and connections I've made over these 10 years now, it truly has become a family, and playing a character.
But you couldn't make it to Rudd's birthday last night?
Well, okay. Yeah, I didn't make it. I was exhausted. It was a long day yesterday. I'm sorry, Paul.
It's all right. I'm one of the newer guys.
You know, Paul.
You had a birthday party?
I didn't. Oh? No, I didn't.
What? Did you go? Wait, did you go?
Yeah, I did because I said I would.
Did you go though?
That's right, Mr.
Okay.
Honor.
Hemi, did you make it? Yeah, exactly.
You at least texted and said, sorry, I can't make it.
At least
which
I
is better than
Scarlett Johansson, you have been part of this since Iron Man 2, and your character has always represented women as strong and equal. For you, I'm sorry. Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, that's me.
Yes, you have been part of this since Iron Man 2, and your character has always represented women as strong and equal, and for you, what is the best part of playing a character in this universe?
The best part of playing the character in this universe, oh, that is so broad. What does that mean?
We can get more specific. What was it like playing Black Widow, and how has she arced?
Well, the character has changed over, you know, when you and I first met and worked together, and hi, John, how's it going?
Hi,
hey,
Scarlett.
Hi.
Congratulations.
I mean, initially the character, I was talking with Danai about this yesterday. We spent the whole day together, you know, analyzing all this whole journey, but the character really started as, you know, a sort of secretary, a sexy secretary with a skill set on the side, and
Posing as,
thank you. And, you know, we didn't know, or certainly I didn't know how the audience would react to the character, my interpretation of the character, and obviously a very beloved character for a long time. And, you know, I feel, and then the next time that we saw her in Avengers, she was sort of one of the boys, for better or worse, and that, you know, made sense then. And, you know, as I think the fans and the audiences have really pushed, you know, certainly Marvel, but pushed all the studios and filmmakers to really, you know, throw up on the screen what represents what's going on in the zeitgeist, and wanting to see, you know, diverse films and cast that represents how they, you know, their own aspirations and how they feel. I think, you know, the character has sort of grown in reaction to that, and the movies have really grown in reaction to that kind of fan encouragement. And honestly, I have to say that, you know, it's so I remember, when Lizzie signed on, and Colby was there, and we were all clinging to each other just to, I felt like I'd been in this like testosterone fest for such a long time. It was so nice to see like other female cast members, and then, with Brie coming on and Karen and Danai, and it's really, I feel like I'm in just this. I'm amongst so many wonderful actors, so many strong actors, and such, it's just grown beyond my wildest dreams. I could never have imagined where this would take us and all of us. It's been quite a journey. So,
Karen Gillan, Nebula is such a complex character. What excited you about bringing her back for Avengers Endgame?
Well, I think it's maybe safe to say that she suffers from some daddy issues because her dad is Thanos, so who wouldn't? And I think I'm excited for her to finally face the source of this abuse. This has sort of been building through multiple movies, through the Guardians movies, and she's talked about how she wants to inflict revenge, and so we all know about that. So I would like to see her try and face that. I don't know if she will. Maybe she won't. I'm not saying anything. I just got really nervous that I gave something away, so I'm going to stop. Potentially.
And next to you, Paul Rudd. Ant-Man has returned.
I'm terrified to say anything.
What? Because you got briefed beforehand about...
No. I'm kidding.
Ant-Man has returned. I think we're good there, right? Ant-Man has returned.
I saw the trailer.
What can we expect from this time around, and how does he fit in with the remaining Avengers?
Well, I did see the trailers. I do know that I'm in it. How I fit in, how any of this works, it remains to be seen, and it's going to be fun to have audiences discover it, along with us. We haven't seen it either. It's not part of the question, but I must say everyone is kind of echoing the same sentiment, which is this sense of like this completion, this story, but the relationships that are forged. It's a weird thing to kind of be hired in any job, and then to get to, for somebody like me, to step into it as it's already picked up speed. It's like having the Beatles say, "Come on, and jam with us for a while." It's an unreal sensation, and
all the ribbing aside, because we all joke around, but tell me about what this community of actors, what's the real experience been like?
It's hard to put into words, honestly. I mean, I sit and listen to Joe and Anthony speak. I've gotten to know Kevin. We've known each other for a long time, and getting to work with all of these actors in this series of films is a one-off. It will never happen again. Not for me. I keep taking steps back and try to recognize this for what it is. And it is so surreal and profound and incredible to be a part of it. It's amazing to meet so many people who are so passionate about it. It's incredible to meet so many kids whose lives are affected by these characters. And to play a small part in that, pun intended, is just something I will always treasure. And so to be here on this panel today, amongst all of you, is really just an incredible feeling, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
And as somebody who's been witness to this from an arm's distance in the background and moving in and out of all these groups, it really does astound me how supportive everyone is, and you would assume that everybody assumes competition or assumes that people are keeping score. I have to tell you honestly, it has not been I've never met a more generous group of collaborators. And I think that's part of what comes through on the screen. Brie, Larson, everyone is waiting to see Captain Marvel in action with the Avengers. Did working with them on this film connect you to the bigger MCU picture, and how did that feel?
How am I supposed to answer that without ruining everything?
I don't know. The same people are telling you don't say anything.
I know, sometimes I feel like
this
is all like a test, like a Willy Wonka, or
well, let's go a different way. You've had a hell of a run here. Not just as an actor up until this point, but then showing up on the scene as Captain Marvel, making tremendous impact and stepping in a situation where all of these people are surrounding you, have been cornered into a seemingly untenable situation, and you're set up in the end credits, and everybody is anticipating. Most people who aren't familiar with the books didn't even know who Captain Marvel was, and then there in the post-credit scene, they're given a clue, and everybody cheers, and there's excitement. And now you have to introduce everybody to you through the film, and then show up on the scene here in the MCU. So really, it's like in the World Series having somebody called up as a designated hitter with the bases loaded. How does that feel? What's that experience been like?
I mean, stressful now that you put it like that. I felt kind of chill, but now I'm scared. So I hope you guys did a good job. I came at just the most magical time, I think. To come exactly at this 10-year anniversary, and really my first introduction to everyone was the 10-year photo, which was a really remarkable and special day, and super surreal, and also like not allowed to talk about it. So the whole thing has always felt like a dream. And this film will always be personally dear to me because it was my first time playing Captain Marvel. We shot this first.
Right.
So I had to stumble and try to figure out who this character was with no script for this and no script for Captain Marvel either, and perform for the first time in front of legends. But it was incredible. I mean, I think the other part of it too is the set feels like this balance of, as big as it is, it still feels like a bunch of kids, just like what I was doing over summer break, making movies in my garage. There's still this sense of wonder and play and encouragement, and of course this film deals with some heavy subject matters, and so you're bouncing in between things that feel very deep and serious, and then we're going off and playing Boggle, which I am very good at, just to be clear. And so it's nothing. There's no other word I can describe it as other than surreal, and I'm super excited for this to come out, mostly just so that I can talk about it. I want to be able to talk about my experience, yes. Which I haven't been able to do for a very long time.
Don Cheadle, Rhodey has been there since the beginning. What do you like best about playing him and suiting up as War Machine?
Well, you were there from the beginning, obviously, and Rhodey obviously started, I think it's fair to say, as a lighter toned individual, sort of bigger than life than I am in real life. But as the character sort of darkened and things became more compact on a narrative, I think we've seen a real growth of this character, and we've kind of, as he's gone through his trials and tribulations, obviously, over the course of these films, and come out the other side now, and has his legs under him, no pun intended, literally, and is able to really be a part of this team and really contribute at a high level. It's been a lot of fun to see where he's come from and to see where he's gone and see what else happens next. But kind of to echo what Brie said, we've had a great time this whole time, being together and having the Downey lunches that we have, that he's put together, and to get to know these people. I've always known their work, but to get to know them as individuals and get to know them as people and get to be friends, and to come back, to get to keep coming back to these relationships again and seeing where everybody is, and people have had kids and them kids going on to college and other people having kids and relationships started and ending. It's just, it's rare to have that kind of an experience over the course of 10 years with the same group of people, so it's really nice. And to consistently win at Boggle, as good as you think you are. I don't think you found the word Avengers.
But let's be real. You can't. Nobody can beat Don. Paul's good too. I mean, Paul.
I feel like Paul definitely.
Paul's
yeah,
good, but
Paul's like sleeper Boggle champ.
Do I have selective memory? I feel like I crushed the whole time.
I felt that I did too.
Did you find the word?
I wasn't there when that happened.
What is the most impressive Boggle word that had been?
Mark Ruffalo, who you'd be lucky if he finds cat. He found asbestos. Literally, Mark, he has nothing else, but he found asbestos.
And that's a lot of points. What about
what did when Don found we were flying on a plane one time and we were playing and Don found Avengers in the bottom board. In the bottom, like that's
a good sign.
That's pretty, yeah.
What would you rate me as a boggle player?
it's not good.
We'd rate you as a
not good.
Tic-tac-toe.
That leads us to Mark Ruffalo. Please pick up a microphone. This cast has met up many times now, either in part or whole. Some describe it as family. Is that how it feels to you? And why is that, or is that not the case?
It doesn't feel like family to me because we all really get along well. There's not that much drama. No, it does feel like family. It's a family that you wish you had, in a way. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, but it's a little bit different press conference than the last time. It has a little bit sort of sadness to it. I mean, we're all talking about like we're dead. Oh, I loved working with these guys. It was great knowing them. Yeah, they're great. They were great boggle players. There's something very bittersweet about this moment, because, you know, as actors, we're like vagabonds. We kind of bounce around. We have these intense relationships, and then you don't see anybody until you get nominated for something, or you're nominated in something, and you end up in an award ceremony.
What's that like? Speak for yourself.
But you know, like this is the closest thing that any of us really have to, unless you're, you know, it's the closest, unless you're in several franchises. It's the closest thing you have to continuity and friendships and watching people grow up and have children and get married and then get divorced and then get remarried.
All right, well, you don't have to.
All right, let's go to the audience for some questions. Thank you, Mark.
Can we undrop the curtain?
All right, let's go to some questions. Oh, my. Let's see, let's start. What? Oh. Yep, we ready to go? Okay. Right here, gentleman in the glasses, you. A microphone coming your way.
Okay.
Here we go.
Sure. Because the Avengers and the whole Marvel universe is such a huge deal, I wonder if all of you, when you go out in public, you need security because of mobs of little children coming after you. And with your, whenever you do leave, Chris, and everyone else, the franchise, do you see yourself in 10 years being at a nostalgia convention signing pictures?
This is a complex question.
We're only going to answer the first part of that question. Yeah,
security for children? I think that was more the joke one.
Why should I answer it?
Maybe we'll go with the where do you see yourself in 10 years? Go ahead.
The security thing?
This is like a blocking rehearsal. This could take a while.
I think that was the joke. That was the joke getting in. Security with children mobbing you. That was the question. Let's talk about where do you see yourself in 10 years.
No, I don't mind punching a kid. I don't
All right, next question. Thank you. Right here, sir. We have a microphone here.
There's the headline.
Hi. For the Russos, you guys have shown amazing restraint in what you haven't revealed about this film so far. How did not having sort of feedback to trailers and major set pieces, how did that affect you putting the film together and putting its final touches on without sort of having that audience feedback coming from trailers that show more of the film?
You know, look, at the end of the day, my brother and I, we came to this material because we're fans. We grew up loving the comics. We came to the series. We came to the MCU already fans of the MCU. So the thing, like the energy we move on, is our own passion and our own excitement. And that's how we tell stories. We learned long ago that you have to tell stories for yourself. You can't be thinking about how others might receive them. So for Joe and I, because we have such an intimate relationship with the material, because we have so many amazing collaborators, starting with Kevin, we are able to just really fashion the story around what we want to see as fans. How do we surprise ourselves? How do we excite ourselves? How do we challenge ourselves? How do we force ourselves to keep digging deeper and keep exploring this narrative and these characters in ways we never imagined? That's how we guide ourselves through the process. And while once the film is complete and we put it out in the world, we really have no idea how it's going to be received. And then once that complete film is experienced and digested and responded to, I think that's the moment where we are then filled up with a reaction. But as we're executing, once we conceive the film and start executing, we're not really second guessing what we're doing. We're really focused on chasing the initial vision that we had for it.
The gentleman in the mustard-colored shirt here. Yeah.
All right, this is for Chris Evans. How do you build a superhero team in real life that serves a greater good?
I guess it depends what greater good you're trying to accomplish. I suppose you want people who are well-versed in that area. I mean, I guess I'm not quite sure in what capacity you're talking about.
It could be community, it could be...
Well, I suppose you try and, galvanize like-minded thinkers and, have a common goal. I mean, these are real platitudes. I don't know if this...
You've been spending a bunch of time in Washington lately, Evans, and I think it suits you well. What are you up to there?
Huh?
You fucking heard me. It's a perfect question, because you're definitely moving in a direction of...
more well-informed people, and I don't know.
All this from the guy who said he punches kids. So.
Yeah. Well, kids are the problem, let's be real.
All right.
It's gotta get punched.
Right here in the front row.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, so kind. I would love to take a second, just with a quick show of hands, to ask the official sources to end an online debate regarding Chris Evans. I would love to know your opinion at the end, but just by a show of hands, who prefers bearded cap over clean-shaven cap?
Oh, I love his beard. I prefer bearded cap.
So let's see it first.
I missed him.
Let's see it first for hands for the bearded cap. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and clean-shaven cap. What? It's a pretty dead.
John, I'm going with neither. I like Chris Evans. I like Chris Evans with a beard with prosthesis over it. When Joss Whedon asked him to come do the tag for the first Avengers.
Could you explain? Could you give a little?
Go back and watch that tag. He had a beard. Yeah, he had a beard. He couldn't shave. So
this is the shawarma scene, right?
That's right. Go back and look at it. It looks like he has bells.
Can we talk about the shawarma scene?
I mean, truly, I was in the middle of shooting Snowpiercer and I couldn't shave the beard, and they were like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll do prosthetics." I was like,
Chris walks onto set with his face extended. He goes, I don't think it's going to work, Josh.
A billion bee stings. Like, it just...
What was that, Snowpiercer? Was it worth it, buddy? Think about it.
Yeah, Snowpiercer's great.
Good series now.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Snowpiercer.
Yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, I just thought, why not? I mean, we're making Ruffalo green. We can't just lose this. But we spent some hours in the chair and put prosthetics on it.
It was the early days.
Ridiculous.
Avengers 1.
So we had to do the scene with me doing that.
Good. Anyone else? Let's see. The glasses, gentlemen, the glasses. Right, you, the one. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Absolute honor to be across from all of you. Obviously, with the end of Infinity War and the Thanos snap, it was a very emotional thing for a lot of audience members to experience that. And Robert, I've been wanting to ask you this since I saw that film, and specifically just staying with Infinity War, shooting that moment with Spider-Man, having him turn to dust, and the actual acting and the emotion of that moment, just what it was like to shoot that scene specifically on that day. And for each of you, do you have a particular person who turned to dust that was the most emotional for you to watch as an actor? But Robert, for you first. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Was that Titan Continuous? I think we were on a set for what seemed like 4 years, so that was Titan Continuous. I just love the lighting in that scene. I look so shredded.
Emotionally shredded?
I was more shredded than a julienne salad, man. No, I don't make I make a lot of faces. I need some help in the editing, and it was one of those moments of, this is the most serious thing that's happened since you were 9. Now, don't F this up. And I remember the brothers were there, and I think we restaged it once or twice. Anyway, it was crazy to shoot it, but it was just another day, and then we were at lunch and doing stuff, you know, because it's a movie. But then I think seeing it, and I happened to see it with this amazing kid, the Scottish kid who couldn't go to a theater, so I saw it with him, and his reaction really, like, effed me up. So I think what a lot of us are looking forward to is, like Kevin always says, it's that surprise and delight experience with Endgame. But it's one of those things where you go like, wow, I think we just made a pretty serious choice here. And but I think audiences like that. I think audiences are so smart and now so they require to not be fed the same drivel as even 20 minutes ago. It's like we need novelty, and I think that what the Russos and Kevin have been able to do is provide that in spades.
Thank you. Let's see. Oh, you're picking somebody? You got somebody that you want to give the mic to?
Hi there. Hi. This is for the Russos. If you have to define this movie with one single word, what the word would be?
One word. Yeah. One word, guys. You want to?
Do you have one?
Do you want to
quick
conference before you come
Don's
in?
long out of my mind now. So
Which one?
That doesn't sound right.
Long. I would.
You want us to come back to you after the next question?
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Always go with your first choice.
Joe and I are going to sidebar on this.
Okay, you do a sidebar. We'll come back to you though.
Yeah, but let's say powerful, and then we're done with the question.
Sir, you? Yeah, you're the one looking over your shoulder. Yeah. Sorry. This young gentleman.
Hi, this question is for Chris Evans. So in the past few films like Civil War and Infinity War, now Endgame, you see our character being able to interact with different characters. And because, you know, you're Captain America, you always have this tendency to be a leader and be a captain. How does that change or maintain continuity as you meet other characters like Captain Marvel or Black Panther, who are both leaders in their own way?
Sure, I think he tends to lean on those people who are of like mind and nature, who kind of are intrinsically selfless. You know, I mean, all the heroes up here have their baked in the cake flaws, and I think a lot of that makes for really good conflict and storytelling. That's why my favorite stuff in this arc has been my stuff with Downey, because we are such. It's such a dichotomy between how we approach things, but at the end of the day, our hearts are both in the right places. But it provides a lot of great friction. But introducing characters like Captain Marvel and like Black Panther, people who also kind of align very similarly to Cap's nature, I think it creates a nice, it reinforces Cap's sense of purpose and home. You know, it's an environment that it feels more natural for him. So I think it's nice to see the certain pockets where he feels at peace and the certain pockets where he feels, you know, his buttons might be getting pushed.
All right, we have time for 2 more in the dress there.
John, there's like a girl.
I see a girl here too. Do you want that girl?
Oh, no, I don't want to pick between 2 girls.
Okay.
Thank you for letting a girl ask a question. Actually, I wanted to ask the Russos, speaking of the shawarma scene, people have come to anticipate what's going to happen during the end credits, and I'm sure this film will be no different. I'm just wondering how many of the extra scenes will appear in the end credits and at the very end.
Unfortunately, we can't answer that question. However, I did think of a word. I think I came up with a word. Cathartic.
Cathartic. Thank you. There we go. Brie, you like to call him something?
And I'm sorry we couldn't answer that question, but we just...
Oh, right here.
We don't want to give any context away.
Here we go.
This question is for Anthony and Joe. So I'm 12 years old and I often make short films with my friends. I aspire to be a director when I grow up. What skills do you think it takes to direct an amazing movie like Avengers Endgame?
That's a great
awesome
question. First of all, congratulations, because you've started making films more than 10 years before we did. That's very impressive.
I think, you know what, we love your initiative, and I think that's really, when anybody asks us about getting started, it's doing what you're doing. It's picking up a camera and it's shooting. You have iPhones now, you can You know, Steven Soderbergh just shot an entire movie on an iPhone, and you have free distribution on YouTube, and you can put things out there. We, you know, discovered Donald Glover for Community on YouTube. So there's a, you know, it's much easier now, I think, for people's voices to be heard and seen than it was when we started, and you had to go out and get a camera and buy a really expensive film and figure out how to get it developed. And so I think, you know, find a story that you want to tell. Be really passionate about it, care about it, and then go out and tell that story. And I think that's really the secret to you know, being a successful filmmaker.
Please join me in thanking the cast and filmmakers of Avengers Endgame.
Thank you, John.